with your new friend Ty.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Tea Party Podcast. It's the podcast where you find new friends and new music. This week I am joined by a Loganville, Georgia native who you might have seen opening up for Justin Moore, or maybe you heard him singing alongside fellow Georgia native Jason Aldean. He just released an EP in October called Habits and Hearts. Let's welcome to the show Jordan Rager. And Jordan, man, how are you, my friend?
Good, Tyler. Good, man. Thank you for having me on here.
Absolutely. And guys, if you didn't get a chance to sign up for your free Audible trial in December, don't worry. You can still head over to audibletrial.com/teaparty and sign up for your free month of Audible access. That includes podcasts, wellness programs, Audible originals, or if you're like me and working on yourself in 2021, they've got a ton of books that will help you do just that. I just finished listening to The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People for like the third time. And you can get that audiobook for free, or you can go pick out your own title. All you have to do is head over to audibletrial.com/teaparty. That's audibletrial.com/TEEPARTY.
It's time to tee off with Ty and today's guest, Jordan Rager. Here comes the first four.
Jordan, here we go with question number one. It's pretty easy, maybe. What's your favorite song, man?
Favorite song ever?
Yep, favorite song ever.
Oh, man. To pick just one, good Lord.
It's tough right off the bat.
It's really tough. Yeah, I'm going through every genre I listen to and every artist I like a lot. Man, all right, so this one came to mind first just because I actually heard it the other day and got reminded how good it is and how much I actually like it. Tim McGraw has a song that he put out in the 1990s called Everywhere.
Okay.
That still floors me to this day, man. It's like one of those songs that, like, when you hear it come on, it doesn't really even like register that it's like what song it is until Tim starts singing, and then you start listening to those lyrics and the melody and the way they produce the whole thing. It's just, there's something like really hypnotic about it, you know? And
definitely
just one of the best written country songs of all time, in my opinion. So I guess if I had to pick one, that would definitely be at the top of my list. And by the time we get done talking, I'll probably have about 20 more that I want to bring up.
Well, that's a good start, man. Okay, how about this? For question two, if you couldn't be in the music industry, what job would you have?
Oh, man, that's a good one, too. So I'm a huge sports fan. Baseball especially. I played ball until I was 16, and I still love the game. Even whether my team's playing or not, I'm going to watch, the ball game if it's on. So I guess if I wasn't in music, I probably would have found my way into the sports world somehow. Not necessarily playing, but maybe like as an analyst, a broadcaster, a statistician, something. I mean, I keep up with that stuff anyway, just out of hobby and habit from watching the games. So I feel like that'd be a pretty sweet gig, is, just following baseball teams around and, talking about it for a living.
Yeah, that'd be nice, especially if it's something that you're doing already, man. You just be able to make some money off of it. That'd be nice.
Apparently my goal in life is to not work at all. So
I think we share that same goal. So how about this one, man? What character from a TV show or a movie would you bring to life if you could?
Oh, I want to hang out with Chandler Bing from Friends, 100%. I don't even have to think about that.
Man, you've thought about that before, though, because that was quick.
Well, okay, so I watch a lot of TV, a lot of movies, especially in the last, 10 or so months. I've had a lot of time to knock off the Netflix list. And Friends is one of my favorites. I remember watching it when it was on TV, like new episodes each week. And I have always thought that Chandler was funny. We have like the same sense of humor, just that like real dry, sarcastic thing. And if I could bring one to life, I would 100%. I'd want to hang out with Chandler Bing. I feel like that would be a good time.
So with or without Monica around?
I don't know, man. Courtney Cox is pretty good looking. I mean, and she keeps things clean, so at least everything would be real tidy around, whenever we're hanging out.
It makes sense to me.
She likes to be the host. Maybe she'll make us some food, maybe drinks. Who knows? Yeah, Monica can come hang out too.
Man, you got this whole thing figured out already. I like it.
Yeah, the only member of Friends I don't really care to hang out with is Ross, but that's a different discussion for a different day. So
Yeah, that is I saw something the other day. That is a hot topic on the internet. You either love Ross or you hate him. There is no in between.
Yeah, and the more I watch, like I said, I've watched the show pretty much my whole life, and the more I watch it, the more I fall on the side of I don't want to hang out with Ross.
That's when I was just getting out of high school, me and my then girlfriend, now wife, moved to Oklahoma City, and the only thing we had there to watch was Friends season 5. So we watched that over and over and over again, and I loved Ross. And now as an adult watching it, I'm like, no, this guy sucks. Just like as a person.
I love that you guys only had one specific season too. Like you didn't have the whole show. You could only watch like the however many 15 to 20 episodes in that one season. I know exactly how that feels.
Yeah, what I would have done for Netflix back then.
Oh, truly.
Okay, how about this? Last question of the first 4. If you could have an unlimited supply of anything, whiskey, tacos, guitar strings, scotch tape, whatever, what would it be?
Is money a cheap answer?
I feel like that's cheating because at that point you just buy whatever you wanted.
I was gonna say that's why I'm asking. So I won't say that one. That one doesn't count. Okay, an unlimited supply of something. Oh man. I mean, I wish I had a cooler answer than this, but honestly, socks. I don't know who breaks into my house in the middle of the night and steals my daggum socks from me, but dude, I'll literally, I got a whole pack of socks for Christmas. This is the lamest answer you'll get on this in the history of your podcast, Tyler. This is the lamest answer to question number 4 you're going to get. So just bear with me. I got a new pair of socks for Christmas, and literally within the first week, I lost 3 of them. And I don't know where they go. They get straight to the dryer, and then they're gone forever. I don't know what's going on. So if I had an unlimited supply of something, I would say socks, because I go through them like way faster than a human should normally.
So when you say 3, are you talking 3 pair or just 3 random socks?
No, just 3 random socks. I have 3 socks that are like I've got 3 pairs of socks with only 1 sock. It's like there's no pair to it. So it's like, and I really don't know where they go. I said something to my girlfriend the other day. I was like, "Are you hiding socks from me? Is our dog like taking them and like burying them in the backyard or something?" She's like, "I don't know. Mine don't go missing." That's the weird part. Is hers don't really go missing. Mine are the ones that I tend to lose track of.
I feel like that would be the meanest prank of all time. Just taking one of every pair.
That is some serious psychological warfare. I don't know what happened. They just take 1 sock out of the pair for once every week for a whole year.
That would be insane. Well, Jordan, man, that was the first 4. You did a fantastic job with that one. But now let's turn the attention to you. Give us kind of the high level Wikipedia version of growing up and tell us how you got into music.
Man, I was that kid that always dreamed big. I wanted to be a baseball player when I was really young, and then I started to find out that you could make a living playing music, and took that on like head on. Like as soon as I was involved in music, there was no stopping me. But let me back up. I never really knew that you could do music as a career until I was about 13 or 14. I started to see, people posting like videos on YouTube of them covering their favorite country songs or songs that they had written and all that. And I was like, well, that's easy. I can do that. And so I started doing that. I taught myself how to play guitar when I was 14. I think I played my first show in front of anybody when I was 14. And I sat in my bedroom and I wrote as many songs as I could. They were all bad for the first couple of years. And I just kind of started doing it. It was one of those things where I was just like, I want it so bad that I don't care how I'm going to get there. I'm just going to start doing it. So I told my mom that I wanted to play country music for a living at 14 years old, and she rolled her eyes pretty hard. But being the amazing mom that she is, she Googled, where can a 14-year-old play around Loganville, Georgia, And she found a bunch of like clubs and restaurants and Mexican restaurants and pizza places and coffee shops and, you know, county fairs and festivals, anything that would come up that would let me get on stage and play my songs for 15, 20 minutes at a time, I would go do it. And I did that all over the state of Georgia, all over the Southeast, up until I was about 19. And then that was when I got the phone call to join the Justin Moore tour that I was on. And I actually got discovered for that because of the YouTube videos that I was posting. So I guess I picked the right lane. You know, it's a random way to get found out about, but it worked. And like I said, man, once I started playing music for a living, I realized how much I loved it. I realized how much I loved songwriting, and it was a snowball effect from there. There was just no convincing me that there was another means of living for me.
Well, and then also in there's another place that people might recognize you from. You're on the early part of season 2 of The Voice, where you ended up on Team Blake for a little bit. Before we get into the Justin Moore thing, because I think that is extremely fascinating, how did you end up on The Voice at all? And how did you decide on Zac Brown Band for your audition song?
So I actually didn't sign myself up for The Voice. My mom, I hadn't even watched the show. I didn't know. I knew what The Voice was. They had done the one season, and it was kind of growing. It was getting a buzz, but I didn't have any interest in doing a show like that, to be honest with you. But I was doing these shows, and a lot of people were walking up to me and my family and my friends and being like, man, you know, Jordan should try out for The Voice. I think he could go really far. And so I guess my mom got told that one too many times. And once again, Google is a magical thing. She just Googled how to sign up for The Voice, found a submission application, or she found an application on NBC's website, filled it out with all the information, sent it off. Didn't even tell me she did it. She just did it. She's like, nah, if this happens, cool. If it doesn't, whatever. And we get an email back a couple of weeks later that offers me they called it a private audition, which basically there's 3 producers sitting at a table, American Idol style, and then you walk in and you sing 2 songs for them. And it's funny, I got through a song and a half before they gave me like the hand that says like, we're good, we don't need to hear anymore. And I was like, oh, all right, well, I guess they hate me. I'm just going to go now. And I went home that day thinking that was the end of my, you know, NBC The Voice experience. And about 2 weeks later, got another email from the same producer that said, we would like to fly you out to LA, and you'll do one more round of producer auditions. And if you make it through that, then you'll be on the blind auditions. So there's a whole process that you have to go through before you actually get in front of the 4 coaches that, you know, we eventually did the blind auditions for. And it was a weird experience for me because I was 17 years old and I'd never been out west before. In fact, the only state that I had been to that point was outside of my home state was like Illinois and then like Tennessee and Florida, but those are basically the same thing as where I'm from. So, you know, it was a real culture shock for me being thrown into LA, into that situation where it was completely different than anything I'd ever done. It's a TV show. It's not like playing a show or playing, you know, with a band or anything like that. They're producing a TV show, and it was fun. It was new, and it was very fast. The whole thing was a big blur, to be honest with you. But it was fun, man. I learned a lot, and I got to do a lot of cool things and meet a lot of really cool people through that experience at a young age. And I think that kind of thrusted me into really taking music seriously. Up until that point, I was just kind of doing it as a hobby. And I was even juggling baseball and music as my full-time commitment. And The Voice was kind of the thing that made me go, all right, I'm going to do the music thing, like for real, you know? The second part of your question, why did I pick Zac Brown Band? I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying this, but whatever. It's been long enough. People need to know the secrets. They gave me a little piece of paper that had like 100 songs on it. And they basically said, choose your top 20 songs in order of preference that you would want to do a blind audition for. And I don't remember where exactly Chicken Fried was on that list for me, but I know it was closer to 20 than it was number one. Not because I disliked the song or that I disliked Zach Brown Band. It was just not the one that I wanted to showcase. You get one song to like show off what you can do. That just didn't feel like the one that I wanted. And lo and behold, that was the one I ended up getting told that I was going to sing. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll make the best of this as much as bet. I'll do the best that I can with this, and we'll see how it goes. And I was lucky enough to get Blake to turn, and I didn't last real long on the show, but man, getting to work with Blake for that amount of time and getting to kind of pick his brain and know what he thought I should be doing or advice or whatever at 17 years old was huge for me.
I can imagine. I mean, something like that. I mean, you coming up, obviously, you've worked with Blake Shelton now and you're in the industry now. So it might not seem like as big of a deal now, but I can imagine at 17, getting to work with the Blake Shelton had to be a pretty cool feeling.
I'll tell you a cool story about that. So we fly back to LA after the blind auditions, and Blake has got his 12 team members that he brings to a house that they rented for Blake to stay in while he was filming the show in LA. And Blake tells the producers of the show he wants to hang out with his 12 team members with no cameras, no producers, no babysitters, nothing. It's just Blake and the team members.
Oh.
And so we go to this house, and he's got Oklahoma Joe's barbecue catered for us to eat. And then when we get done with dinner, we sit down in the living room of this gorgeous house in the Hollywood Hills. And we kind of tell a very short version of our backstory. Hi, my name's Jordan. I'm from Loganville. This is what I sing, whatever. And then Blake grabs a guitar and he just passes it around the room and he goes, everybody plays one song. It could be something you wrote. It could be something that inspires you, whatever you want to play. Just play me one song that means something to you. And we all did. And we sat all 12 of us played, so like I said, some of us played original songs. Some of us just played like, hey, here's a song that means a lot to me. And it was one of the coolest experiences that I've got to do because it wasn't for the show, if that makes sense. It wasn't for television. It wasn't for anything other than just Blake wanted to get to know us and we got to know him, and we just got hang time with our coach. That was probably the coolest experience I had the entire time I did The Voice.
That sounds like a really cool experience because you're right. I mean, you take the TVs out of it or the TV cameras out of it. Like there's no real reason for Blake to hang out with you guys other than because he wants to, which is really cool.
Yeah, it just endeared us to Blake even more than we already were. And it taught me that, man, the Blake Shelton that everybody else sees on TV, the one that we watch on The Voice every week or the one that we see on the award shows or at the concerts, that's the same guy when the cameras aren't rolling. And it just made me a lifelong fan of Blake for just being a real dude that just likes other real good people.
Well, that makes it easier, I think, to be liked by people when you're just who you are. And kind of turning back to your audition, anybody that's seen it can tell right away that, one, you love to be in front of the crowd, and two, you love to be in front of the crowd, which was really cool to see in a voice audition because typically people are a little bit more conservative, but you really got the crowd involved in that. And you once got quoted as saying, "You name it, I've played it." You talked about it earlier about all the different places that you've played, but what's the craziest or strangest place that you've played a show?
Oh, good Lord.
It's always a good start to an answer.
Yeah.
There's a story there.
Yeah, give me a second. I got a few that I'm cycling through in my head. I'm trying to decide which one's the wildest. I can tell you that I've done just about every kind of show that you can play. Public events, private parties, birthdays, for all ages. I've played private birthday parties for every age of child between, birth and, well, not birth, but 1 and, probably like 18 or 19.
Mm-hmm.
It was, which those were always interesting because, 50% of the time the person would know who I was and 50% of the time they wouldn't. Those were always a little weird. Whenever you walk into somebody else's birthday party, they have no idea who you are or what you're doing there, and then you just sit down and start singing to them. That's always a strange interaction. I've also played a lot of shows on flatbed trailers, on really janky stages. I'm trying to think of one specifically that's like the craziest one that I've done. Oh, okay. I've got one. I played, people that aren't from the South, when I say this, are not going to understand this. So I'll explain once I say it. I played a mud bog party in southern Mississippi. I think the town was Kiln, Mississippi. That's Kiln. So shout out if you're from Kiln, Mississippi, all 15 of you. That show was so much fun, and it had no business being as much fun as it was. We pulled in to this little town in Mississippi after driving through the entire night in a van and trailer. We slept in the van, and we pull in to this gigantic plot of land that is just mud and dirt and water for as far as the eye can see. I'm talking like, gotta be like 5 or 6 football fields worth of just dirt and mud. And we didn't know what the show was. We just got told that it was a private party. And so we make this turn into this big mud pit that we're about to, spend our entire day in. And I'm sitting there going, I can't tell if I'm super excited to get this party started or terrified at what is about to follow. And the activities of that day included, we got to ride in a monster truck through basically a lake of mud. I'm pretty sure I still have video footage of that too. We tore through the field in 4-wheelers. We got to eat some of the best barbecue I've ever eaten, but it wasn't like fork and knife barbecue. It was like, pick up a whole turkey leg with your hand, dump some sauce on it, and eat it like a barbarian, like God intended us to. So
like
it was
kind of barbecue.
Dude, it was a lot of fun. And then the best part of the whole experience was when we finally we go through that entire day of just redneck amazingness. And then it's time to play the show. Everybody that's there just backs their 4-wheelers and trucks up to the stage, drops tailgates, and throws KC lights on. And now everybody's just like, it looked like a music video. And we get to get up there and play for an hour of my set. And these people were loving every second of it. Like, it was like one of the wildest, strangest, and I'm sure I'm forgetting details of the story too, but it was one of the most surreal, did that day just happen shows that I ever played.
I can imagine. We've got, even tucked up here in the Northwest, we've got a couple of mud bogs out here that people take off for the weekend, and they throw those giant parties. And I have not been lucky enough to be invited to them yet, but they look like they're a good time. And I can only imagine that throwing music into that would only make it better.
Oh, if you think rednecks like getting drunk and playing in mud, add some country music to it, and it turns everything else up to 11, man. It is. And it's funny because that's actually not the only mud bog that I've played. I actually did another one in Dalton, Georgia a long time ago. I don't even know how long ago this was. I was a kid. I think I was like 17 or 18 when I did this one. And my mom came to me with that one because whenever I play back home, my mom always likes to come see the show in Georgia. They're in the shows in Georgia. And she walked in and her eyes were just this big. She's like, what have I gotten me and my son into? Why are we here at this place? So, I mean, that's one of just countless wild show stories that I have. I've been doing this so long, man. And honestly, I was the guy that I took every show that I could get. Literally anything that meant I could play music, I wanted to do it. And I'm still kind of that way, especially now that we've been shut down for a couple of months. I'd give anything to play a mud bog party right now,
Oh, God, I bet, man.
But yeah, man, it's a wild world out there for the guys and girls like me who are trying to make it in country music. You see some interesting things, get to visit some interesting places and some interesting people. And that's one of my favorite things about what I do.
I bet. I mean, and to go from mud bogs to arenas. You're right. You really kind of have played a little bit of everything. And I want to hear this story about how you got hooked up with Justin Moore, because he found you on YouTube, right?
Right. Yeah. So I'll tell you exactly how it happened, because I'll never forget this day as long as I live. August 2013, I'm driving to my local grocery store in my hometown. I still live in Georgia at the time. And my phone rings, and I look down, and it's a 615 number that I don't have saved in my phone. But I knew 615 was the area code for Nashville. So I was like, I need to get this. So I pick up the phone, I say hello, and on the line is a guy named Jeremy Stover. And Jeremy goes, I produce Justin Moore, and I write a lot of his songs. We are gearing up for Justin's very first headlining tour in arenas, and we've came across your YouTube page. We really like what you do. We want to know what your availability is for the rest of the year. And I had started booking my fall leg of whatever, call it a tour or my shows or whatever. And I said, well, I'm playing shows, but I've come up to Nashville a bunch in the last couple of months. I had started making trips back and forth, writing songs and getting to know some people in town. And I was like, if you guys want to write, man, I'm totally down. That's what I thought he wanted, to be honest with you. When he was calling me, I thought he was like, hey man, we want to write sometime, which was enough for me. I was like, this is cool. Justin Moore wants to write. Justin Moore and his producer want to write with me. I'm 100% in for that. And Jerry was like, no, man, we want to bring you on tour with us full blown. You're gonna play in the set change part of the show right before Justin goes on stage. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. That sounds like a lot of fun. That sounds like way more fun than what I was going to do this fall. And so November 1st, Springfield, Missouri was our very first show. And I'll never forget that night, because I remember being so nervous. This was the biggest show I'd ever played to that point. I had played frat parties and college bars and restaurants and county fairs. I think the biggest group of people I'd ever played in front of at one time before that tour was a couple hundred, and they weren't even there to see me. That was like a July 4th fireworks festival somewhere in South Georgia, So then I walk on stage that first night, and there's 4,000 people staring at me, and most of them don't know who I am. So now I've got 4,000 people, and a majority of them, I have to win them over on the very first night. And it was, like I said, I was very nervous, but I'll say that playing all those shows that I played over the years, I think really prepared me for just about anything. Because when you're playing frat parties and college bars and restaurants where people may or may not know that you're even there to play for them, you have to kind of be a little commanding of their attention. You have to figure out ways to get them involved and get them engaged. And that was one thing that playing the way that I did for as long as I did really taught me. It taught me a lot of stage presence and a lot of command over a crowd, to the point where when I got put on stage at that arena tour with Justin, that was like shooting fish in a barrel. It was easy. Because then it was I'm on the stage that I've always wanted to be on, and I've got all these people in front of me. All I got to do is do what I do, and this is going to go great. And it was top to bottom, man. That tour was one of the best experiences I've ever had, from Justin on down. The greatest people, the most humble guy in the world is Justin. He doesn't carry himself like this big egotistical superstar. He's just a regular dude that likes singing country songs and likes hanging out with good people, kind of like Blake, like I was talking about earlier. I don't think I could have handpicked a better first tour for myself to go on than that one, because I learned so much, and I was able to kind of grow into myself on that tour.
So then after that tour, after you've been able to kind of hang out with him and open for him, kind of really just open directly for him and fill in that spot before the headliner, then he took you out with a full band, right?
Yeah, so we did the tour was called Off the Beaten Path, the Off the Beaten Path tour. And so the Off the Beaten Path tour, for the first half of it, was November 2013 and December 2013, all the way into May of 2014. So November to May of 2014, I played acoustic. It was just me and my guitar out on stage in between Randy Houser and Justin Moore, which, by the way, was a horrible slot. Like, following Randy Houser, who is one of the best vocalists in country music, in my opinion, and then the guy that follows me is Justin Moore, who's another one of the best vocalists in country music. Dude, that was tough. Like, genuinely two of the best singers I've ever heard in my life, and I've got to follow one and open up for one in the same night every night for 6 months. But it was such a great experience, and we had so much fun doing it that for the fall leg of that tour, Justin decided he wanted to bring me back out in the first of 3 slot where I would play full band, which just made it that much better because, you know, it's one thing to do it when I'm out there by myself, but then I get to bring my band with me and get to share this amazing experience with these guys that I've been playing on the road with for all these years. Thomas Rhett was on that leg of the tour. It was me, Thomas Rhett, and Justin. We had an absolute blast. Man, like I said, I genuinely don't think I could have handpicked a better first tour for me to go on. And those memories, like, I still look back now with some of the fondest memories I've had in this industry that I've had so far.
Well, and that's such a great way to just kind of expand what you were doing. You got a little bit of a taste of everything. You had the acoustic set, you played before the headliner, but then you got the full band kind of opening up the show. I mean, it really kind of broadened what you were doing. And then eventually is that kind of what led you into signing with Broken Bow for your first record deal?
Yep. So I moved to Nashville right in the middle of the acoustic leg of the tour. So January of 2014 was when I moved to Nashville, which my 7-year anniversary is actually coming up in a couple of days. So as we're recording this. So I moved to Nashville. I start taking meetings with different people. I had a management team at the time that was taking me to different labels, and we were doing showcases and the whole song and dance. And somebody from Broken Bow came out to one of the first weekends that we did full band with Justin. I think it was somewhere in Oklahoma. And by the time I got back to Nashville that weekend, Broken Bow had already said, there's a severe interest in signing you. Don't go talk to anybody else. We want to see what we can work out. And it was really cool because I was friends with a lot of people at that label. I was working with some people that had relationships at that label already. So it just seemed like a perfect fit. And man, if you had told me at 14 years old that I would be signing my first record deal in Nashville inside of my first year being in Nashville, I would have called you crazy, because this town's tough, man. And there are people that walk in every day and there's people that walk out every day, and they don't get that opportunity. So I'm incredibly grateful to Justin for really getting me started, because I wouldn't have, and Jeremy Stover also. I have to say thank you to Jeremy, because he really took me under his wing just as much as Justin did, from the standpoint of, how do you write songs in Nashville? How do you record songs in Nashville? How do you go about networking in Nashville? Jeremy was the guy that took care of me in Nashville, and then Justin was the guy that took care of me when I was on the road. Those two dudes I literally owe everything to, because I wouldn't have moved to Nashville when I did, and I wouldn't have what I have now if it weren't for Jeremy and Justin just teaching me everything they know. And like I said, man, I owe them a lot, and I appreciate their belief in a 19-year-old kid that didn't really know much more about himself other than he liked to sing country songs.
Hey, sometimes that's all you need, my man. Just that belief. But we talked about it right off the top today. But your first radio single was actually a duet with fellow Georgian Jason Aldean. How did that happen?
Yeah, so it's a funny story. I had that song recorded, done, ready to go with just my voice on it. And we had even kicked around the idea of me and Justin doing that song as a duet, because that song was written by Jeremy Stover about a kid that he met at a Justin show that unfortunately lost a very courageous battle with cancer at the age of 16. So that song is in tribute to that kid. His name's Cameron. That Southern Boy, to this day, every time I play it live or if I play it anywhere, I always dedicate it to Cameron because that's what the song's about. So we had talked about doing Justin, like we had talked about Justin being the duet partner on the song. And for one reason or another, that ended up not being able to happen. And so the song just became me singing it. But it felt empty. It felt like there was an opportunity for a moment with that song, with it having such a special backstory and with it being just a great song, you know? Like it was just one that everybody really liked, but we couldn't put our finger on what was missing. Fast forward to signing to Broken Bow, and I've got this song. I've got a bunch of songs that I'm, playing for people. And me and Jason have had a relationship for a lot of years. Even before I moved to Nashville, our families have known each other. We used to hang out on holidays or like barbecues or whatever every now and then. So me and Jason have known each other for a while to this point. And I'm sending Jason all of my songs because he's like a big brother figure to me. Like I play him all of my stuff and I get like very honest feedback about like, hey, this is cool. Hey, do more of this. Hey, I think you got better than this, that kind of thing. And so Southern Boy was in that batch of songs that I sent him, and he called me one day and he was like, dude, has anybody talked to you about this song being a duet? And I was like, funny story. We've actually been thinking this song was a duet since we recorded it, but we haven't been able to line it up for one reason or another. And he was like, I want to do this one with you. And I was like, bet. Like, you got a deal, man. I'll see you in the studio tomorrow. Like, let's do it. And so we went to the studio about a week after that, and man, what a cool experience. Like I said, Jason's a friend, and I never really think of him as like Jason Aldean, like the superstar that most people probably think of him as. But that day I did. I'll be totally honest with you, man. Being in the studio, watching that guy cut vocals on my song and knowing that this song was going to be put out eventually, like I fangirled pretty hard because it was a really special moment for me. This is a guy that not only I look up to as a friend and as like I said, a big brother figure that's watching out for me. I look up to Jason as an artist that knows his style and knows his brand and sticks to it and is good at it. And, just is unapologetically Jason Aldean. So Jason influenced my music both from a personal level, but also on a professional level. I listened to Hicktown and Amarillo Sky and Big Green Tractor and all those great hit songs from, the early 2000s that he was coming out with. And it molded my music and my style of writing. So having him on a song, my very first song, much less, is one of the most special things that I've gotten to do, just because you get to do it with a friend, you get to do it with the top dog in the format, and you get to do it with a song that you really, really believe in and has a really, really cool backstory and message behind it.
That is a phenomenal story. That's even better than what I was thinking happened. That is great, my man. So you went from there, you moved on from Broken Bow kind of after that project that you were working on with them. You landed at Riser House, where you've been for a couple of years now. You put out quite a bit of music with them, including one of the songs that we have for everybody to listen to today to kind of get a feel of what your style is like if they haven't heard and anything else that you've put out. The first song that we have here is called Where You Been All My Life. Give us the story behind where this song came about, where it came from.
Yeah, man. So I ended up leaving Broken Bow because I just wanted to let me start that over. I'll say this. I ended up leaving Broken Bow because I was 20 years old when I signed that record deal. And like I said before, I didn't know anything about myself other than that I like to sing songs. I didn't know the difference between a good song and a good song for me. And so I had to go out and learn what a good song for me is. Whether I wrote it or whether I didn't write it, it didn't really matter to me. I just wanted I had yet to find that sound that I was looking for. And so I left Broken Bow and I went into complete creative mode, just writing my tail off, trying to come up with the best, most unique, creative music that I could possibly come up with. And Where You've Been All My Life was a turning point for me because that was one of the first times that I really got to use musical influences outside of country music on one of my songs. If you listen to the song, which people are about to hear it, it's got a very early 2000s alt rock feel to it. And that's on purpose. That's by design, because if there's a type of music that I love almost as much as country music, it's early 2000s pop punk and alternative rock. I absolutely love that stuff. I went through my emo phase where I was listening to nothing but Sum 41 and Green Day, and I never outgrew it. And I wanted to, that music is such a big influence on my songs and on my style that I wanted to showcase that. And this song, I wrote this song with two of my great friends in Nashville, just with, 3 guys and 3 guitars. Very acoustic, very stripped down. All we wrote was like the lyric and the melody. That's all we had. And then when we got in the studio, I remember telling my producer, I was like, I want this thing to rock. Like, I want this thing to like stop people in their tracks when they hear like the first note of the song. I want people to go, whoa, what is that? For good or bad. I want them to go, what is that? I need to know more. And I'm really proud of this one, man. I think we really accomplished this. And I think this song sums up a lot of what I want to represent as an artist and as a songwriter. There's storytelling in the lyric. There is a clear picture of where the song's going lyrically. The music is high energy, which is the kind of music that I love. It's fun to listen to. Sometimes music just needs to be fun. And like I said, man, I'm really proud of this song. So
fun to listen to is a great way to describe it. This one's called Where You Been All My Life by Jordan Rager.
Kind of thing, the way you pull back your hair. Is that a Texas draw I hear? Do you come from out there, where you brought up in a big city, or homegrown in a small town? Cause you got that ain't from around here pretty that I'd love to learn all about. I was looking, but I think you're just what I was looking for. Cause girl, I know just enough about you now to know I gotta know more. Was it a highway or a back road that brought you? Was it your hometown or someone that taught you to steal a heart like you're stealing mine? Girl, tell me about where you've been all my life. Break down and float on a panhandle beach. Were you a handful back in high school in a hand-me-down Jeep? Are you a Bama River rope swing or a Kansas summer stargaze? Are you a cold beer at a Cubs game? Girl, what's your home team? Lay it on me, baby, tell me everything. I didn't think I was looking, but I think you're just what I was looking for. Cause girl, I know just enough about you now to know I gotta know more. Was it a highway or a back road that brought you? Was it your hometown or someone that taught you to steal a heart like you're stealing mine? Girl, tell me about where you've been all my life. That I'd love to learn all about. I didn't think I was looking, but I think you're just what I was looking for. Cause girl, I know just enough about you now to know I gotta know more. Was it a highway or a back road that brought you? Was it your hometown or someone that taught you to steal a heart like you're stealing mine? Girl, tell me about where you've been.
one was called Where You Been All My Life by today's guest, Jordan Rager. And Jordan, you also released a music video for the song as well. And you knowing kind of where the inspiration for the song came from and now alt rock, pop punk kind of background, I think the music video kind of makes sense now. But you filmed it in the rain at a skate park. Where did that idea come from? Because I've tried skating in the rain and that just doesn't work, my friend.
All right. So fun fact, it was not supposed to be raining that night. That rain is 100% unplanned, and it was a hindrance the entire time we were shooting that video.
I can imagine.
Man, it was, so we shot 3 music videos in 2 days, and Where You Been All My Life was one of the songs that we shot the video for. I knew I wanted to have a music video that paid tribute to those early 2000s, Good Charlotte and Sum 41 and Blink 182 music videos where they're like standing in the bowl of the skate park and they're like, rocking out full band and the skaters going around them. That was the only idea I had for a music video. I just wanted it to, I was like, this song has, influences in pop punk and alternative rock. So let's lean into it in any way, shape, or form we can. And so when I started talking to the video director about what ideas I had, that was the only one I was like, we have to do this. And he was like, the guy that directed the video, his name's Ben Skipsworth. He's a great director, and he comes from that same world of pop punk and skater and all that kind of stuff. So he was 100% in for it. And we got there, we shot it at a skate park just outside of Nashville on a very chilly and wet Tennessee April evening. But man, it was so much fun. We had such a great time shooting it. I can't personally skate. I can skate on a flat surface. I can get the board going and I can kind of just cruise on it. But ask me to do any kind of trick or do get on one of those bowls or whatever, I'm going to hurt myself. But watching the skaters kind of go by me as we're trying to film the video, a couple of times I got kind of just kind of lost in my own world. And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done, So it was a lot of fun, man. And I really, really enjoyed everything about making that video.
Well, and if anybody out there wants to check it out, it is the featured video on his YouTube page. So be sure to check that out when you're done here. But Jordan, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about your songwriting. I mean, you're pretty open about the authenticity of your writing and about how you write about the things that you want to write about and you pour your whole heart into them. When you sit down to write, are you a bigger fan of writing alone and kind of getting the process started, or do you like to start writing with a co-writer, or what's your process look like?
I think it's different every time. Sometimes I start songs by myself and then I'll bring them to somebody else if I get to if I get stuck on something and I'm like, hey, look, I got this. I don't know what to do with it, but I really like the start that I have. And then there's other times that I go into a room with nothing more than a hook idea or a guitar melody or, a line that I think could be cool in the song somewhere. It's different every time. That's, I think, one of my favorite things about what I do for a living, especially the songwriting aspect of it, is that it's never the same thing twice. It's always something different. No matter what room you walk into, you're writing with different people in different spaces and different headspaces, and those people have different influences and they have different styles and they have different things that they want to say and different things that they've been through. So the same song idea will look very different through the lens of somebody else's perspective. And I enjoy writing by myself, but I love the collaborative manner that we go about writing songs in a group. Usually there's one other person or two other people in the room, and there's nothing better than watching a song come to life when you're writing it with some of your best friends. It's you're just you're coming up with lines and you're high-fiving each other all the way through it, and you're all right, man, let's sing it down, let's hear how this whole thing sounds. And it's probably my favorite thing about what I do for a living is the songwriting aspect of it. It's the thing that made me fall in love with music was the lyrical content and the storytelling of country music. And that's why to this day I'm in country music. It's why I love country music.
Well, and you just put out an EP in October called Habits and Hearts, and you've got a writing credit on all 4 of those songs, which I think is a little bit abnormal in today's day and age. There's a lot of artists out there that, if they put out a 4-song EP, they probably have a writing credit on 2 or 3 of the songs. But you really do take what you do seriously in the terms of you want to make sure that your songs have your voice to them. Am I right in that?
Yeah, I've never been one of those guys that has to write everything that I release. In fact, I've not written a lot of the songs that I've released. Southern Boy's one of them. There's a good handful of a few others that I didn't write, but I sung and put out because they just were great songs that I felt like helped tell my story. And that's my biggest thing is like, as far as like the artist goes in me, it's like, I've got stories to tell. I want to make sure that whatever songs I do put out, they are going to tell my story, whether there's something that I've gone through or something that I feel like people have gone through that they'll relate to. And that's kind of where I landed with this EP. I had these 4 songs that I had recorded, but I didn't really know what to do with them because they're a little more emotional. They're a little more, for lack of a better term, songwritery, where they're a little more, they're a little more deep than what you might get otherwise from a country EP. And I kind of liked that because I like deep music. I have this thing on my social media that I hashtag every now and then that's make country music sad again, because I'm weird and I like sad songs. And so I write a lot of sad songs. I like listening to sad songs. And I think there's people out there that enjoy listening to sad songs too. And so I had these songs like Habits and Hearts and Want Me to Want You that are just heartbreakers. They hurt a little bit. And I recorded them, but then we didn't really have a plan for putting them out. And then 2020 happened the way it was. And I knew we had these 4 songs sitting there doing nothing, just collecting dust on a shelf somewhere. And so I called my label and I just said, what if we just put these 4 out? Like, these 4 songs sound great. We know we like them. We don't know what else we're going to do with them. And we also don't know what else this year holds. So kind of screw it. Let's just do it, And I'm so glad we did, because genuinely they're 4 of my favorite songs that I've ever written for one reason or another. And I think country fans are ready for that deeper content song, that meaty lyric that like makes you feel. For me, music should make you feel, whether it's good or bad or happy or sad, or, if it's a love song and it makes you feel something about that person that you're with, or if it's a breakup song that makes you miss that person you're not with. Music should make you feel something. It should take you back to a time in your life where you heard a song for the first time, or where you have experienced something or felt something for the first time. And I hope my music always does that, whether it's, a super sad heartbreaker like Habits and Hearts, or if it's a super fun song like Where You've Been All My Life, man. I really hope that people can make personal connections to these songs for one reason or another, because that's the whole reason we do it.
Absolutely. And Jordan, it's time to break some hearts, because the next song that we have here is actually the title track off of that EP. It's Habits and Hearts. Tell everybody where this came about from.
I'll be honest with you, Tyler. I don't know exactly what gave me the idea for this song, but I do remember when I thought of it, it scared the hell out of me, because I knew I was about to have to be more vulnerable, more raw, and more honest than I had ever been as a songwriter. Because you can't, the thing about an idea like Habits and Hearts, like I knew going into it, I was like, I cannot half-ass write this song. It's got to be ouch. Like it's got to hurt, And so I sat on it for a very long time and didn't say it to anybody. I just kind of would fiddle with it here and there, come up with a line or two, kind of progress the story as much as I could by myself, until I felt like I walked in a room where I was comfortable sharing, honestly, one of my best ideas. And any songwriter will tell you that they hold on to their best ideas. There's those ones that are like their babies, that like they're almost like scared to show somebody else, because you care about the song so much that you don't want it to be, not that it would get messed up, but like you just care about the direction so much that you want to make sure that it's perfect. And this was that song for me. So November of 2018, I sit down in the room with Michael Whitworth and Matt Roy, two great writers in town. And I think it was Matt, looked out the window, and it was like kind of a gray, rainy day in Nashville. And Matt just goes, man, it feels like a good day to write something real. And when he said that, the title that I had in my phone, Habits and Hearts, flashed in my head. And so I looked at him and I was like, I've got a title, but we cannot screw it up. And they were like, all right. And I go, it's called Habits and Hearts. And the only thing I said to him was the tagline in the song is habits and hearts don't break the same. And both Michael and Matt just like, were like, whoa, give me a second to process what you just said. And then let's dive in. And Matt came up with that guitar lick that you hear at the beginning of the song. And from that, man, we were off to the races. I think we finished that song in 45 minutes. It didn't take us very long because we just, I mean, that's the benefit to writing to yourself is like, I came in with a clear vision of like what I wanted this song to say and sound like, and, you know, what I wanted it to cover. And then Michael and Matt helped me put all those pieces in the right place. And then when we were done, we stepped back and we had the full picture of the song. And like I said, man, it's one of my favorite songs that I've ever been a part of writing. And I'm so thankful that I got to put this thing out.
Well, here it is for everybody. This one, the title track off of his brand new EP. It came out in October. It's Habits and Hearts by Jordan Rager.
I smoked my last cigarette at least 1,000 times. Been trying to lighten my lead foot since I learned how to drive. And that's just 2 on a mile-long list of things I can't seem to quit. And it might take my whole life, but it took one word goodbye to shatter me like glass. Just 2 fading taillights to fall apart so fast. Shouldn't be so easy to turn to pieces this thing inside my chest. And so hard to put the whiskey down when that's what numbs the pain. I guess habits and hearts don't break the same. Still reach for you in bed every morning I wake up. When I put the coffee on, I still grab you a cup. I still say us, ours and we, trying to shake these old routines. It takes all the strength in me, but it took one word goodbye to shatter me like glass. 2 fading taillights to fall apart so fast. Shouldn't be so easy to turn to pieces this thing inside my chest. It's so hard to put the whiskey down when that's what numbs the pain. I guess habits and hearts don't break the same. One's stubborn, one's fragile. They're both in uphill battle. One holds on tight for what feels like forever, and one can barely keep itself together. 'Cause it took one word goodbye to shatter me like glass. Just 2 fading taillights to fall apart so fast. Shouldn't be so easy to turn to pieces this thing inside my chest. It's so hard to put the whiskey down when that's what numbs the pain. I guess habits and hearts don't break the same. I guess habits and hearts don't break the same. They don't break the same.
That one was called Habits and Hearts by Jordan Rager. And Jordan, man, where can people keep up with you on social media? We know you've got a YouTube channel. What about Instagram, Twitter, TikTok maybe?
Yeah, all of them. I've got, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, pretty much any social media site that's out there. I'm on it, and I try to be as active as I possibly can. And yeah, follow me, find me, like the page, whatever format you like. I do different live streams on different ones, and I love getting to talk to people and hang out with y'all on the socials. And it might be the only means that we have to reach people these days, but it's a lot of fun. So yeah, follow me on all my socials and get after me.
And what are your social handles? Are they all just Jordan Rager?
So Instagram is just Jordan Rager, no spaces, no periods, anything like that. I think Twitter and TikTok are Jordan_Rager. And then my Facebook is just Jordan Rager. All of my socials have a blue check mark. So if you search my name and you see Jordan Rager with a blue check mark next to it, that's me. If you search my name and there's no blue check mark, and then that account starts sending you messages asking for money, that's not me. Don't answer those messages.
Yeah, report those. Get those people off social media.
Right.
Well, Jordan, it has been an absolute blast, man. Thank you for jumping on here. It's been great.
Tyler, thanks for having me, man. Sorry I ramble a little bit, but I've had a good time talking to you, man.
No, man, it is perfectly okay. That's what we're here for. People hear enough of me. They want to hear from you. But before we let you go, we've got one more segment. This one we call the Final Four. It's same as the first one, just four. I want to say they're tough questions, but really they just make you think and make decisions. Sound good?
Okay, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, here we go.
It's time for the Final Four.
Question one, if you could pick one person alive or dead to go on tour with, who would it be?
Ooh. Alive or dead to go on tour with. Can I have a second to think?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, they're tough questions, so
that's a tough one.
Time to process.
That's
Especially
a tough one.
I promise the next three are probably a little bit easier.
Okay, I'll go. I'll tell you what. Can I give you a one alive and one not alive?
Sure.
Can we do it that way?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So I'll go. I could tour with anybody that I wanted to, dead or alive. I'll go alive first, and I am going to pick alive. I think I'm going to go with Jason, just because we never got to do it. That's the one thing that I never got to do at Broken Bow that I hope I still get to do one day, because it would have made so much sense back then. Like, me and Jason were at the same label. We worked with the same people. We had the same promo staff, pretty much the same team around us. It would have made so much sense for us to be on tour together. And that would just be one of the most fun tours to be on the road with. So I guess alive, I'll say Jason, just because I'd never got to do it. And I think it would be a lot of fun to be on the road with that guy and his band and the whole crew. Somebody to tour with that isn't alive anymore, I would say probably Skynyrd. Ronnie Van Zant was Lynyrd Skynyrd's my favorite band of all time. And I actually remember when I found out as a kid that Lynyrd Skynyrd wasn't alive anymore. Like, I didn't find out my parents didn't tell me about the plane crash until I was like 10, because they didn't want to ruin my life.
Yeah.
And I remember being super crushed the day that I found out. My dad finally broke the news to me that, most of the original Lynyrd Skynyrd lineup had been killed in a plane crash. And I remember mourning that just like it had just happened, because I loved Lynyrd Skynyrd that much. One of my favorite things about Ronnie Van Zant as a songwriter is that, and Tyler, tell me if you know this or not, Ronnie Van Zant never wrote anything down. Anything that he put into his songs was all off of memory. His thought process was, if it's not good enough for me to remember it when I'm singing, then it's not good enough for me to even worry about writing it down. And when I heard that, I was just always like, that's a true songwriter that, really wants the song to be as good as it can, because he didn't settle for anything. And above all that, I feel like the stories that I would hear from their days of touring in their heyday in the 70s would just that alone, the bus rides in between states just swapping stories would be alone, that alone would be worth the tour for sure. So I guess a long-winded way to say, if I could tour with anybody alive, it'd be Jason. If I could tour with anybody not alive, it's definitely Leonard Skinner.
Those are actually both solid answers. You had solid reasons to back it up. I had heard that quote, but I didn't realize that it was Ronnie Van Zant that said it. I just thought it was one of those, mystical songwriting quotes that just kind of float around.
I thought the same thing, and then I watched a documentary on Skinner a couple of years ago that was Johnny Van Zant, which is Ronnie's little brother, who's the lead singer now, and Gary Rossington are basically the narrators for it, and Gary confirmed that was 100% true. And so I was like, that's it. Ronnie Van Zant is the badass of all badasses.
100%. Okay, how about this? This one's an easier question to answer. Who are your 3 most recently played artists on Spotify?
Let me pull my phone up. I can tell you one of them is Morgan Wallen. I've been listening to his new record absolutely nonstop for the last for the last week since it came out. There are some absolutely incredible songs on that record.
There absolutely are. You want to talk about a talented guy? Oh man.
I'm actually scrolling through to see like which one I listened to last, but I don't even know if I could pick a favorite. 865, More Surprised Than Me, Warning, Somebody's Problem, Whiskey My Way. There's so many great songs on this record. So I've listened to that a ton recently. Another one that I listen to a lot is, I told you I never outgrew my emo rock and pop punk phase. A Day to Remember is one of my favorite bands. And that's one of my, if I'm just in the truck driving and I don't know what else to listen to, that's usually one that I end up landing on. And let's see, the third one is, where is my phone's not cooperating with me. Oh, the third one is Muscadine Bloodline. My buddies Gary and Charlie. I was listening to their record the other day.
Nice. That is a solid top 3. And as you were saying, I pulled out my phone just to kind of see what I had it, and my Spotify is so confused. They make those daily mixes, and I've got 8 of them just because they can't figure out where to put all the different types of music. I've got a pop punk one. I've got one with Eric Church. I've got one that's got Lin-Manuel Miranda because I think my wife uses my Spotify to listen to Hamilton all the time.
Right.
It's all over the place. Okay, how about this? Question 3, what is your favorite on-stage memory? I'm making you really narrow these down today. You got great questions tonight, dude. Oh man. All right, give me a second to think about this one. Favorite on-stage memory. And I promise, once you get through this question, the last one should be pretty easy for you to answer.
Oh, that's okay. It's honestly, I'm kind of deciding between a few of them right now. I'm trying to figure out which one I want to tell because, like I said, man, there's a lot that come to mind. I'm trying to think of which one I want to share. Okay, I'll save this one. So one of my favorite onstage memories came from while I was on tour with Justin. So around the time that we did the full band stint with Justin Moore and Thomas Rhett, there was a song called Small Town Throwdown that was on the radio, and it was Thomas Rhett, Justin Moore, and Brantley Gilbert were the singers on it. Well, Justin played it during his set, and obviously Brantley wasn't on the road with us, so I would come out and be the third guy that sang the song with us. And we did this every night for that whole leg of the tour. And it was one of the highlights of the whole night. I loved doing it. But the very last night of the tour, dude, things got wild. It was anybody who goes to a lot of concerts knows that the last night of a tour is usually where a lot of shenanigans happen. Definitely. Artists are pulling pranks on each other. People are a little drunk because we're celebrating at the end of the tour. There's no rules. We just like cut loose and have a great time. So that night we're in Missoula, Montana, and we get pulled on stage to do Small Town Throwdown, just like we always had. But this time we're, like I said, we're all just a little buzzed because we've been celebrating all night because we've made it to the end of the tour. And, you know, at one point, I think me, Justin, and Thomas Rhett swapped hats. So, like, I was wearing Justin's cowboy hat, and he was wearing my baseball cap backwards, and then Thomas Rhett was wearing somebody else's hat, and then we all switched hats again. And then there was people throwing beers at us like we were Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I Stone Cold Steve Austin 2 beers together on stage. Another guy that was on tour with us at the time, JJ Lawhorn, was out there with us, and he ran and crowd surfed the whole front row in a pair of red long johns. That's 100% a true story. I cannot make that up if I tried. And it was just, I mean, half the band is not playing their part. Oh, that was the other thing. The keyboard player in Justin's band walked over to the bass player and said, let's swap. And so the keyboard player is playing bass and the bass player is playing keyboard. It was just the most like cut loose and have a great time nights that we had. And in a special moment of the show that we got to do more than once, that one definitely stands out as like some of the most fun that I've ever had on stage.
That sounds like an absolute blast. It really,
you know, it's the only thing that sucks about it is I don't know why, how, but I can't find video footage of this concert anywhere. I have scoured the internet for hours looking for footage of this particular moment in history, and I can't find it anywhere. I wish, if you're out there listening and you were at the Missoula, Montana show in October of 2014 with me, Thomas Rhett, and Justin Moore, please find me on socials and send me videos because I would love to relive that moment.
Hey, we've got quite a little contingent of listeners in Missoula and kind of in that area, so maybe somebody will hear it and have that video for you, and then you'll be able to find it.
Lord willing, something shakes loose.
There you go. Okay, last question for you here, man. If you could pick one thing for people to take away from this podcast and from your music in general, what would it be?
I hope people always know that – I hope people, whether they're listening to this podcast or they're listening to my music, I hope they always know that I'm trying to be as honest as I possibly can. My favorite artists growing up and the artists that I still listen to this day are the artists that you feel like you get to know them better the more you listen to their songs and the more you listen to their music, watch the videos and follow them on socials and all that kind of stuff. I've always strived to be that guy because those were my favorite guys. My favorite country singer of all time is Alan Jackson. And I don't think you get more real, down home, like just good old boy than Alan Jackson.
Absolutely.
Another one is Eric Church. Eric Church is not trying to be anything other than what Eric Church is, and I absolutely love that. I mean, honestly, part of the reason that I'm so infatuated with the pop punk scene and the alternative rock scene is like those guys are maybe more than any other genre of music unapologetically just being themselves. And I love that. And I think that's when I know for me, that's when my music is at its best, is when I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm not trying to, make something up. I'm just telling my stories with raw emotion, how I'm actually feeling. And I hope people hear that when they listen to my songs and when they listen to something like this podcast. I hope they know, how like I'm just a regular guy that is living his dream, getting to write songs and play songs for a living. I don't know how I got so lucky, but I'm thankful that I did. And I hope people know how much I appreciate their support, the fact that they've listened to this podcast, the fact that they've listened to my music, the fact that anybody has taken the time to stream or download or illegally pirate my music is the coolest thing in the world to me. Because I grew up dreaming of that reality, never thinking that it would be a reality. So for anybody listening, I hope you know how much I appreciate you. And I hope you know that I will always keep it real.
Well, there you go, man. There's not a better way to end this podcast than with that right there. I really do appreciate you jumping on here, man. We'll definitely have to do it again.
Tyler, holler at me anytime, man. This has been a blast.
Absolutely. And guys, that was another episode of the Tea Party Podcast. It's a country music podcast where you find new friends and new music like Jordan Rager and his new EP, Habits and Hearts.
Go tee off on the like button at facebook.com/teapartypodcast.
This has been a Tea Party Communications production. Theme music created by Jesse Quandt. Announcer voiceovers by Jay Gwynn. And as always, hosted by Ty Pisani.